The hunt for Shaquille O'Neal would be cartoonishly funny if it didn't involve the theft and victimization of thousands of investors during the crypto meltdown. Bitcoin bros and crypto gurus are currently being questioned in court as we speak. Sam Bankman-Fried, the mastermind of FTX, is facing decades in jail. Celebrity promoters of crypto like Jake Paul and Lindsay Lohan have been charged by the Securities and Exchange Commission for illegally telling their followers to buy bunk currencies, with Lohan tweeting things like exploring hashtag DeFi and already liking JST, Sun, or TRX, super fast and zero fee, a sentence that sounds outright clickbaity. In the scramble to sort out the tumbling crypto empire, a 7-foot, 350-pound man keeps evading the long arm of the law, one process server at a time. Shaquille O'Neal claims he never drank the crypto Kool-Aid, and his involvement in FTX was merely as a paid promoter.
Hey, it's Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm excited to be partnering with FTX to help make crypto accessible for everyone. I'm all in. Are you?
But if he doesn't believe in the wooden money he's peddling, why peddle it in the first place? Why not promote something worthwhile? Something that wouldn't require Shaq to turn off the lights and hide inside his mansion when the authorities show up, or speed away from process servers as they toss court summons at his car. Our episode today isn't about crypto and the celebrities who pushed it. It's about the overall avalanche of bunk celebrity endorsements and how it's affecting our online lives. Today we're talking about celebrities as brands and how celebrities have turned their own platform into snake oil shops. As it stands, the Federal Trade Commission requires sponsored content from online marketers to be labeled as such. If a YouTube influencer is paid to advertise coffee, or Amazon artificially boosts a brand of AA batteries to the top of the results, they are required to clearly tag it as an advertisement or sponsored. So what about celebrities and celebrity CEOs? Those who use their platforms to sell placebo health supplements or promote crypto without understanding what crypto is. Or celebrities who turn their entire online personality into one big brand advertisement on their online store. Should they be held to the same standard as the rest of us poor, unsponsored normies? Should the Shaquille O'Neals and Gwyneth Paltrows and Lindsay Lohans be required to label their Twitter accounts as sponsored content? You're listening to The Re-Engineered You. This is a podcast about self-empowerment and all the myths, lies, and misconceptions we tell ourselves. Then we use science and history to bust those myths and re-engineer a better you. I'm your host, Todd Laments, the extrovert.
And I'm the writer, researcher, and introvert, Joe Anthony, whose job it is to dig through the outer layer of no duh on the internet.
As consumers of social media, we are not unbiased judges of celebrity opinion. When Gwyneth Paltrow tells her online followers the best treatment for long-haul COVID is infrared saunas and fasting, a percentage of the population follows her advice. Enough that it warranted an emergency response from the National Health Service in Britain. Not that we're trying to cancel Gwyneth. This episode isn't about cancel culture. It's a study in the world of marketing that surrounds celebrities, which turns them from super talented megastars and wraps them into brand managers. Why would Shaq promote a company he doesn't believe in? Why would Lohan tweet about crypto or Gwyneth promote bunk health products? Today we're asking, how much has the celebrity influence market as a whole been tainted by bad faith brands? And to start us off, we have 3 myths to bust. Myth 1. If your best friend in real life is trying to sell you Herbalife supplements or Amway every time you talked, you'd stop calling them, right? So why do we put up with it from celebrities who we don't even know? Myth 2. Does Shaq feel guilty for misleading all those investors who lost their retirement? Are celebrities even capable of feeling guilty? Or is there such a strong gravitational force around brand management, not even light or guilt can escape? Myth 3. How have all these scandals impacted the market of celebrity endorsement? Does anyone trust celebrities anymore? Anyone? We're going to get to our myths. But first, I want to talk to Joe about the olden days of celebrities when we could trust Lucille Ball and Ronald Reagan to tell us which cigarettes were healthy for us.
This is a weird episode to do. I almost don't want to wrap it into the same umbrella of self-help. It is really much more self-awareness and awareness about who we trust. So my first question to you, Todd, because you are way more tapped into the health industry than I am, are infrared saunas actually a thing? Like was Gwyneth Paltrow making that up, or do they actually help you?
Yeah, that's called red light therapy. And actually, my wife is dead. My wife uses them a couple times a week and help them sleep. They help with muscle recovery. They do have some health benefits.
Okay.
And they're like this sauna thing you sit in, and it heats your body temperature up. So you kind of sweat out some toxins. Not good for curing viruses or diseases, though.
Right. Okay. So I didn't think it was totally made up. Like I did notice when I started looking into. By the way, this all comes from we're working on a book for the Reengineered You. We've done so many episodes, we couldn't help but take our favorite stories and put them into a book. And when we were going through just our overall episodes about celebrity, we've done how wealth insulates celebrities, like how they lose not just empathy. We'll talk about the Paul Piff studies, but we've also talked about how like decision making is impaired, whether or not celebrities are peddling brands that they believe in. So this all kind of wraps together, and this is more of like a punctuation mark of an episode about, do they actually believe in the stuff they're selling? Should we believe them? And the infrared saunas thing threw my head for a loop. I was like, if it's real, why did Britain have to like clap back and say infrared saunas won't help with COVID versus like maybe they're good. I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, and of course it's available through her online shop Goop, which usually sells essential oils and jade eggs and chakra stones and stuff like that. So
There's plenty of snake oil on her stuff, though. That one's not a prime example, but we have more examples of some weird stuff that she's sold that has no medical.
so that is a good no medical proof so far. We're just going to say that we don't disbelieve all the stuff that we're going to talk about today, and the Nutri supplements that celebrities are peddling, and the infrared saunas, and the bunk crypto stocks that so many celebrities endorsed. This isn't about us debunking their choices of what they want to sell. It's more like pointing out that uh, celebrities used to be like a sports sponsor, like when Lucille Ball and Ronald Reagan had sponsorships and endorsements. It was for like cigarettes. Like they would have a brand that would pay them, and then they would just say, "Hey, I like this brand," or Humphrey Bogart smokes these cigarettes specifically when he's in a film. Um, that's like comparing like a race car that has one sponsorship and they're loyal to it versus NASCAR today, where you have cars that are just absolutely plastered with stickers from all different brands. Like it's so much that you don't know what the driver is and you don't know what the color of the car is underneath all of these brands and stickers. Um,
Yeah, industries have definitely monetized more. It was almost like in the olden days, it was a monopoly. Like if you sold Chevys or Fords, that was all you did. It didn't occur to
right.
them that you could sell food products, beauty products, and what's also funny is that they're representing things that have nothing to do with what they do.
Right, exactly. That is the big thrust of this episode is they're not experts in these products. They're not even aware of the products they're selling. It is such a was it Kim Kardashian has like a crazy empire of like beauty products and food products and just brands, and she can't possibly know what all of them are. There's so many of them that it kind of falls under the umbrella of these aren't celebrities. These are CEOs. These are CEOs of multiple brands, multiple chains, and they kind of just all fall under the umbrella of the celebrity is standing on a pyramid of all these brands, and they can't know what they all are, and they certainly don't believe in them all. And that's kind of what we're trying to prove today is how much do we trust that they are being, straightforward with us?
And I just want to punch you in the face here with some stats here.
Yeah, please.
This is how much Kim Kardashian makes for a post or a tweet. $1.6 million
Per post or tweet.
for a tweet or a post on Facebook, or for a social media post.
That is bonkers.
Ariana Grande, the singer, 1.6. Beyonce, 1.3. Khloe Kardashian only makes 1.3.
I feel bad
And
for
I've
her.
and I've heard of Oprah making as much as 5 million.
That's wild, but like it's not because they're so entertaining. Like I think that the misconception, because I've heard stats like that about celebrities before, where they make hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars for tweeting. What is it? Was it DJ Khaled is like he has an entire like most of his branding line. He's not making as much money from music anymore as he's just like branding. It really comes down to like the reason they can take that average and say that they are making $1 million per tweet or per social media post. It's because they are averaging all of their brands that they are representing and all the money they're getting from all these sponsorships, and they're averaging it down to here's how much I make per tweet or post because people are looking at my advertisements. It's like having the most they're when you see the advertisement pop up on YouTube, you're watching your favorite video and an ad comes up, you click on it because you want to get that snuggie that they're advertising. Well, that video just made 5 cents. Imagine
That's
that.
crazy.
Yeah, imagine
It's like
that
this machine,
times
right?
2 million people watching your social media post. Yeah.
I could just see this, like there's like they have like a war room in a building somewhere where they have accountants and attorneys who are just counting all this money, right? It's just like
Right.
it's just probably around the clock. It's scary for absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And a lot of it when you read that Lindsay Lohan post about crypto, we all know what happened with crypto. It absolutely crashed and bottomed out. But her phrasing in her tweet, the end of it is like, already in liking, and then she lists JST and Sun and TRX, and then she says super fast and zero fee. That sounds like a bank advertisement. That sounds like a literal spam commercial that you would just sort of flip through. You wouldn't even pay attention to it. And this is a celebrity saying it.
Well, and doesn't she seem like one of those celebrities that has just like battled addiction? Not somebody you would take investment advice from.
Right. I think of Lohan as all of the gossip about her going to court and being flippant with judges. I don't think about her as being extremely good at finance. And maybe I'm wrong. It could that'd be the best surprise our show has ever had if somebody fires back and they're like, Lindsay Lohan is actually a genius hedge fund manager. But I don't think that's going to happen. So we're going to start at the very beginning. Like we've thrown out a lot of numbers and stats at the start, but we're going to basically begin with why do we trust them? Like, why are 2 billion or million people looking at every Kim Kardashian tweet? Why are people following celebrities so closely that they can make the kind of money they do off of their branding? Because if I sell nutritional supplements, I'm not going to get the amount of clicks that Alex Jones gets. Like he sells bone broth and like nutritional supplements and that's one of the biggest snake oil ones is literal health supplement snake oils. Is you can buy health supplements that are basically just placebos, and there are so many brands out there that will pay a celebrity to do that. So crypto and nutritional supplements and Gwyneth Paltrow's whole line of Goop, as far as I'm concerned, seems like it is in this ballpark. Why trust them? Why do they have so many followers?
I'm not proud of this, but I am a Shark Tank watcher. I watched that. Have you watched that show?
I have seen it like 2 or 3 times, but that makes me happy that you watch it.
I'm kind of embarrassed by this, but the reason I bring it up is Mark Cuban, the owner of the billionaire, tech guy who owns the sports teams, the Dallas Mavericks. Anytime there's anything placebo-like or that makes any kind of health claims that has not been backed up by real, he freaks out. He gets nasty with who's ever there. So it just rubs him the wrong way. He doesn't like people doing that. So there's a celebrity who, I'm not saying he's an angel, but when it comes to those kind of claims, he says absolutely not.
Yeah, and they're ubiquitous. I think that. I mean, I imagine these guys prowling around Hollywood, and just any celebrity who will accept an endorsement from nutritional supplement placebos, they'll pay you off. Like that's how you know you have like lowered your standards as a celebrity is if you're selling nutritional supplements. Um, but the reason we will pay attention when Alex Jones or Gwyneth Paltrow or somebody tries to sell us nutritional supplements is because their face. Like it is literally because let's go back to primitive man yet again. It's because if we see a face too many times that we like, or that sounds good to us, or that we see them go through an emotional journey and we trust them, it raises our trust level. This is called in marketing the mere exposure effect. And yes, we've talked about this on the show. Um, and there's a cliff. If you show me a product or a person 10 times or so, I will trust it more. It'll register in the back of my subconscious as if multiple friends have told me it's a good thing, or that have exposed me to it and said you should probably look at this person, trust this brand. Beyond, I think it's like 25 or 30 times, you start to get angry at it.
Is this an authority thing? Is there a tad bit of authority in this?
Yeah, it kind of wraps its way into everything in TV and media. When I first read about it, I mean, like it's been known since like literally like the 50s and 60s. That's how they planned out. If you watch Mad Men, I think they even mention the mere exposure effect, or at least they're aware of you need to put this product in front of people's eyes at least 10 times before they start registering it and thinking about it as a trustworthy thing. And it's the general idea is if it is ubiquitous, then it must be vetted. That if something has been on the market for this long and there's enough people looking at it, and if I've seen it 10 times, it means that it's common. And if it was going to be bad for me, I would have already heard about the bad part too. And that is not on the front of our brain; that's on the back. That is the subconscious telling you, we know about it. It must be trustworthy. And the same thing goes for people. Politicians tap into that. The reason why you will see a political ad campaign 10 times, almost exactly, like it's almost planned how many times they will run it during an advertisement block. If you watch, evening sports, it's planned out how many times you will be exposed to a brand of cereal or a political ad campaign showing you, here's our state's representative. Doesn't he look trustworthy? He's kissing babies and shaking the hands of farmers. And the reason why celebrity is so powerful in this area is we don't just see them kissing babies and shaking hands. When we watch Gwyneth Paltrow, we see her crying. We see her in the movie Seven going through stages of emotions and considering whether or not she can have a baby in a dangerous city. We see her in Shakespeare in Love. We see her laughing and having fun on stage and getting into like all these things happening to her. We see personal journeys and emotional journeys of people, and it makes us trust them. Like we know nothing about them. They when they're revealed to be horrible people in audio clips, or when they reveal themselves to be disconnected by tweeting horrible things, it shocks us because we have been through so many personal journeys with them subconsciously that we can't help but like them.
That reminds me of music, right? So these people who are singing about getting their heart broken, these vulnerable songs all these years, we actually believe that that's who they are, right? We think
Right.
we connect, so we love them, right? We have this huge crush on these people, right? Man, woman, we love them,
Oh my God. During our Sinatra episode, when I found out how insecure Frank Sinatra was, every song of his is about being confident and going out on the town and loving ladies. And then we found out that he was so insecure. It was crazy. Like that crushed my opinion of him. I mean, like I still love him, but holy hell. Like that was a changer.
Yeah, that he was suicidal over a woman not giving him attention.
Right.
A
Yeah. So
certain woman he
demanding.
just couldn't handle it. Yeah.
Right. And to be fair, I really want to start with like, let's not absolutely roast every celebrity on here and say that they're terrible, evil people who deserve scorn because they are accepting an endorsement. No, they do deserve. Everybody deserves to make money, to to be in business. Everyone deserves to start a small business. That's part of the American dream.
Well,
Um,
well, let me stop you right there and let me
yeah,
argue with that. Okay, you do your due diligence on our on our research for this show. I would think that these people who are taking checks for millions of dollars should spend a little bit of time looking into what these things are and what they do and pros and cons. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. They could even have someone on their staff do it.
right. It's why don't they have that? That's the big question. That's our first myth we're gonna bust. Is why don't they have another expert sitting next to them saying yes or no to a product? Why doesn't Lohan have an actual financial expert she can call that will tell her, hey, this is a bad idea. Like these are terrible, cryptos. They're going to be junk stocks in 10 days and you're going to look like a fool. And the reason for that is, well, it's an effect of overconfidence that we're just really starting to like dig into with research. So I'm gonna talk about first. We're gonna try to say that not all celebrities are evil, even the ones that are endorsing terrible bunk things, and we're gonna justify that by saying that when they get good at acting and when they get good at brand management and when they accept a giant gold award of a gold man, they walk down a red carpet like they are deities. People are worshiping them on either side. They accept an award. They think they're king of the universe. Um, all of that hype feeds into the notion that they are competent and that they are of a high social class and that they have, wealth and status. That's the same thing that happens to anybody who, like, if I was a floor wax salesman and I accepted an award for, the best floor wax brand or the best salesman of the year, I'd have the same feelings about myself. I may not be as hyped as Gwyneth Paltrow, but I would still value my own opinion. I would still say that I am generally above average as far as intelligence and thought and, what my mental abilities. And, once you reach that level, once you accept a big award or a plaque, or once you reach a certain, let's say, how much money do you have to make before people can say that you're successful as a person? Would you say it's like above the happiness index, like $100,000, or would you say it's like 200,000 or
Well, I think when your ceilings as an athlete or as a celebrity and your expenses and you're supporting, you are a company, right?
yeah,
So when does it go? I think you should make whatever you made doing your trade that in endorsements. Okay. I'll give you
okay.
that. So if you made 50 million, then you're up to make 50. If you made 10 million, make another 10 million. Because I just think this has just got greedy piggy written all over it. How much
Right.
fucking money do you really need?
Well, that's what I'm saying is greed is absolutely a component,
And how
but I
much of
want
it's your reputation? How much of it is what kind of person you are? Does that have any value?
oh,
Y-
we're definitely going to get to that. Like that how much this system of every celebrity is a brand, how much that has damaged people's opinions of celebrities. We have research on that and it is amazing. We're gonna talk about that in a third part. But for just the moment, I want to give Gwyneth Paltrow and a couple other celebrities a very, very, very small hall pass. I want to say that there are studies that say that as a person's socioeconomic star rises, they have a elevated sense of their own decisions and their own thoughts and their own expertise. And that's for everybody, not just celebrities.
Well, I'll give a pass too for women because it's been proven that men's careers in entertainment are a lot longer. Their worth and their value is high. So I
That's
could see
true.
why, you know, if you're a female and it's not fair. They don't seem to get the same kind of roles or the demand, and certainly the pay isn't there. So they want to take advantage of the window that they do have, even though that window
Right.
has gotten bigger.
You're not a sex object anymore. So what roles are you going to take? Yeah, you're pushed off into the outer ring of Hollywood where you can play mothers and challenging roles.
Mothers and
Um,
aunts and that kind of stuff, right?
right. Well, there was a study I want to get to by Peter Bellamy and his team, and they weren't looking at celebrities; they were looking at just people, and they were looking at loan applications, and they did this in a very interesting way. They contacted loan companies that work internationally, and they got data of people who were getting loans. And the important part is it was a loan company that did like basically personality tests. So they wanted to know who they were loaning money to, how likely they were to pay it back, what their education level was, what their age was, what their income level was. And so these companies, these loaners, and these like basically like a credit score company, they had a tremendous amount of information on the people they were giving loans to, and they looked at the people doing the research looked at, okay, what are the top earners? The people that are asking for a $200,000 loan or a $100,000 loan. Those are going to be people who are borrowing it for a small business, and they're going to be borrowing for large amounts. Those are the people who are calling shots. Those are the owners. Those are small CEOs, and they compared it to people who were in the lower brackets who were asking to borrow $1,000. Um, and who knows what that's for? Maybe it's somebody doing a cake decorating business or something. And they compared their income level, their education level, and their social class with whether or not they thought they were right about a game that they sent out. So you say, Todd, you're asking for a $10,000 loan for your business. I show up. I already know your personality. Like I've already made you do a personality test online when you do the loan application. And then I show up with a tablet computer and I say, loan application's almost complete. We know everything about you. Here's a little flashcard memory game you're going to need to play. And so you look at these flashcards, and all it is you match images. You say whether or not the image that you just saw is the same as the next one, like a tarot card. You flip it over, is it the same? Um, and it looks like it's a memory test, like it's a dementia test. And at the end of the test, I say, thank you, your loan has been approved, and I walk away. And right before I leave, I say, hey, by the way, how well do you think you did compared to everybody else? You think you're in the top 50%, top 60%? Like, give me a 1 to 100 score. Um, and the real test isn't memory. It's
Where do you think
do
where do you think you ranked?
where do you think you ranked? And do wealthier, more educated, or socially higher class people believe that they were right more often? Did they rank themselves higher on their decision making?
Absolutely, probably off the charts
That
higher.
was quick. Yeah.
And am I right or wrong?
The poorest people thought they did best. No, I'm kidding. It was what you thought. It was the more the more social class you had, and the more money you had, the more right you thought you were, even in decisions and even in opinions that you couldn't possibly know the answer to, and you couldn't know whether you had done well.
Well, we know this from our celebrity insulation episode.
Absolutely.
Because they're surrounded by people telling them how awesome they are. Everyone on staff, that's how you got the job, is by telling the boss how smart they are and how wonderful and what a great. It's not that Shaq is a great businessman; he was a great basketball player.
Right, but once you accept a gold statue with a little man on it, you think you're good at everything. You think that you are you if you are Lindsay Lohan, you think you're good at banking. If you are Shaq, you think you're good at crypto. If you're Gwyneth Paltrow,
Well,
you think you're good at medicine, even though your little gold man was for acting.
and it's reinforced too with the ocean of money that's coming in. You tell me
Yeah.
that you wouldn't start thinking you're good at something if you're getting paid. Of course, you must be. I mean,
Oh yeah,
people buy stuff because you know.
that's what the study backed up is when it comes to people's opinions of their own opinions, it gets higher with the more money and the more status you have. And they controlled for education. This was a very rigorous study. We're definitely going to link off to it. I'll link to the PDF so people can just go through and read it. But yeah, they did tests and follow up tests to control for education levels, because they're like, well, if you're a business owner, you're probably educated, or if you have a lot of money, you probably have a degree of some sort. And they did control tests for that too. And it's just the higher your status and the higher your wealth level, the more often you overvalue your opinion. Not the more often you think you're right, the more often you overvalue your opinion on things, was the way they phrased it, which I thought was awesome. Um, so even if Gwyneth Paltrow held a PhD, um, and her opinions were still technically expert, she would still have to state that the things she is selling on her website are sponsored by FTC rules. Like FTC guidelines would make her say this is all sponsored content. So yeah, when she sells an infrared sauna to cure COVID, or when Shaq is trying to tell you to buy crypto even though it's burning, that's when we can at least say that they're not monsters, even if they are greedy. It may not be entirely greed. It could be that they so overvalue their own opinion because they've received too many little gold men's standing on little platforms that they may think they actually do know everything. And speaking of Shaq, did you when I was reading about the ways he evaded and got entangled in FTX, the part where they're throwing the court summonses at his car as he's speeding off, like I don't know why it makes it so much funnier that he is so huge. Like that if you could find somebody to serve papers to, I would think it would be Shaq.
Well, when this was all going down, and that's how this show was idea was born. I was telling Joe about because TNT is the network that Shaq is a commentator on, and he doesn't call the games play by play. But it was during the playoffs, and what he does is he does the pregame, and then at halftime they go to him and he talks about the game with Charles Barkley, who's a character too, who's probably had a few things summoned to him through this. He's been served a few times through the years. But what was interesting about it, because this was a huge thing. They were looking for him to sue him for this huge multi-million-dollar, and he was on TV talking. And what struck me funny about it was because I was just reading about it minutes before, and I swear, Joe, this didn't bother him at all. He was so they're going to these stadiums, so he was on the move. Usually he's in the studio in LA or whatever, but he was actually at the games. So they were going to the games and they were getting close to him, but they just couldn't get to him. And so they were going to his mansion, and then he was doing the old, you know how what you do when someone rings the doorbell nowadays, you duck and hide. He was doing this in his multiple of mansions. They were even going overseas to the Bahamas trying to get him. Now, I want you guys to link off and just Google Shaq's Bahama mansion. It's bigger than any hotel you've ever seen in your life, I promise. It wouldn't be hard to hide in there. But so at some point they hired, there's 5 different companies who were all professional servers. He would drive by in his Mercedes and they just fling court documents at him, just like confetti. So how hard is it to find? Now keep in mind he is 7'1". They say 350. He's all of 400 pounds, I promise. So he doesn't move particularly fast, but they just couldn't get him.
Oh my god, that makes me so happy. Just the thought of Shaq fleeing a basketball game and like somebody screams "get him," and then like the biggest man you've ever seen going down the aisle trying to get away from process servers. Oh man, do you think? Okay, in your opinion, do you think that there is a certain level of greatness where you have earned the right to not have to understand your own brand? like Shaq, we
No.
played a clip. Shaq openly admitted he doesn't understand what crypto is or how it works or what he's doing.
Well, this is the thing. He got involved. Steph Curry, the basketball player, they're buddies, and he says, "Hey, why don't you get involved in this? It's called FTX. You don't need to know anything about it, and you'll make millions of dollars. You just have to say that you're all in, that you believe in it." Now, what's funny about that? He personally said, I would go nowhere near cryptocurrency. So this is somebody who has a lot of money who wouldn't invest a cent in it, but is willing to say he's all in. So if that's not lying, I don't know what is.
I didn't know that part. I didn't know that he had stayed away from actually investing in it. I thought he was like both an investor and a brand manager. So he was just accepting money to be the voice. He didn't believe in it at all.
Right. And
Okay.
he said, you don't have to. You don't have to know anything about it. You don't have to believe in it. But the fact that he said in this Forbes magazine article, he said that he wouldn't go anywhere near it.
To give people an idea of how many people lost their asses with Bitcoin and crypto, it sounds like we're being like overblowing it up. How many people lost money in crypto? CNBC has a couple of numbers. They say that 80% of all global investors lost some money in crypto in some way. And that's not just FTX, that's all crypto, but FTX certainly led that sort of slide. They FTX is definitely the Lehman Brothers of cryptocurrency. Um, so that's That's crazy to me that he would call up a friend, another sports icon, and be like, "Get in on this." The brand managing or brand ambassador, not. That's like me calling you up, Todd, and being like, "Hey, I've gotten into selling timeshares, and I really think you could do it with me." Have you ever sat through a timeshare presentation?
Oh, I have, and I'm embarrassed to say I tried to sell them for a short time and didn't sell a single one. And I consider myself a pretty good salesperson.
Okay, that's interesting. I does the FTX salesmanship thing with these brand ambassadors, does that feel a little bit like timeshare ambassador?
Yes, but even less concrete, even more snake oily to me.
Okay,
Because at least you have something you can go see every 2 weeks to every other year in a timeshare. At least you're sitting in this hotel. And let me just tell you the timeshare, because timeshare thing is not probably not as popular as it used to be. But you and your fiance Rachel would get a thing that I'd call you and say, "Hey, how'd you like a free trip to the coast? To the Gulf of Mexico in this hotel?" And you say, "Sure." And then there are strings attached. So you go to this thing and you are put through a very high pressured sales exhausting process. So you do get a free trip, but you're tortured to try, and you're using all the guilt and greed. They throw everything at you. So
right.
you need a shower after you're done. Let's put it that way.
It's basically a salesman and like between 4 and 12 of you sitting around tables, and it is basically like a police interrogation for an hour, and at the end of it, you get a free trip if you sit through the whole thing. That was my experience at least. But yeah, Shaq and him getting Steph Curry into it, it really it did feel to me like that feels like timeshare, like salesman. But you're right, I think it is worse. Um, so let's answer the second part of that question. If Shaq understood what he was doing, so like our first myth was, uh, or our first part of that is, do celebrities actually overvalue their own opinions? Do they think they're experts in everything? Well, yes, in some cases, not all. There are some very grounded celebrities and some very down to earth celebrities that don't believe that, but there are obviously some that they get their money and their plaque and their award, and they think they are actually. It's the human condition. If we get too much social standing, we think we're smart at everything. So the second question is, okay, well, does that mean they're evil? Does that mean that if you are a celebrity and you have enough money and enough isolation and enough mansions, do you start losing empathy? So here's the part where we're going to call back to our celebrity insulation episode. If you haven't heard it, this is almost like an update to that because there are new interesting studies about it. In that original study, I think we quoted Paul Piff. We in that original episode we quoted Paul Piff and his wealth and affluence studies. Um, and Piff is such an interesting guy. Like if you want to just be entertained for an hour, look up Paul Piff did a TED talk, which is great. It's 20 minutes. It's about how the more wealth and affluence you have in life, the more likely you are to lack empathy, to have your empathy get dulled and calloused and eaten away in a very measurable way. Um, and he now has like an hour long sort of lecture you can look up on YouTube. It's great. But the sort of long and short of his study series is, if you think that you have a higher status than the people sitting around you, you're more willing to literally take candy that was designated for children. Like they would label jars of candy for the children's study group next door. And the people who were temporarily assigned a higher status than their peers would take the candy. They would play Monopoly, where they were given more money and more tokens than everybody to start with. And the players who were just by luck gifted with more at the start would play more aggressively, tap their pieces harder, eat more of the free chips that they brought out. They would attribute it to their own skill and ability. They almost never mentioned luck, or that they had all that starting money. Like they would literally start with double or triple the money. Um,
See, I'd always thought that it's supposed to be. I'm laughing because I know what you're saying. Like, even though they got a head start, you think they would slow down and say, okay, since I got all this extra money and this extra, you know, this gifted all this stuff, I should let everyone else. So to be fair, like I always thought, whatever you are, money will make you more of that. I read that. I've heard that from people. So if you're Mother Teresa, like if you get more money, it'll be nicer. Not that you're going to put your foot on someone's throat and finish them off, you know. Take candy from a baby, literally.
Yeah.
Know.
Well, the update to that study, and this is the part that he mentions in his TED Talk, is if you meet a celebrity and they have crazy wealth and they haven't become an absolute disconnected shell of an emotion, like if their empathy hasn't been dulled away, and they're not just like screaming at.
I think the medical thing is a total douchebag. I think that's what
right. That's a medical term. Yeah, thank you. Like there's stories of celebrity talk show hosts throwing coffee back in their assistants' faces and crazy shit like that. The way you don't end up like a total disconnected douchebag is you have human connections, and a lot of them. The more connections you have that aren't being paid by you, like the people on staff don't count. The more connections you have where they're peers, you respect them, you value their opinion, you talk to them regularly, you help them. That was something Paul Piff mentioned in his studies is people who were primed to think of themselves as helpers and part of the society around them, part of the human condition, by priming them to think of themselves as part of humanity. They would literally take wealthy people who were douchebags and they would prime them to think of themselves as part of humanity, and they'd help people on the way out of the studies. Like they found out that not only does empathy get dulled with wealth, you can bring them back. You can with very little effort, you can make people remember that they're part of the group and that they need to participate and they need to be part of the human condition with us and help each other. But there's a lot working against them, and we're going to go through those very quickly. One of the things working against them is one, the money, the fame, the affluence. It, like we said, it makes you think that you have better opinions than other people. Another big one is it's just simply space, physical space around you. The more square footage of your house, the more isolated you become, and that's a no duh. But there was a study called "Income Predicts the Frequency and Nature of Social Contact." And it is literally like a 1-to-1 up the ladder correlation where Ellen DeGeneres lives in a 12,000 square foot mansion. And during COVID, she got dragged online and got in real trouble because she said it was like being in prison, sitting in her mansion. And
yeah, exactly.
And she has multiple mansions. Yeah, she owns and buys mansions. That's what she does. Her
helicopter
gig.
From one to the next. Yeah.
Yeah. So the more square footage that you physically have around you, you're less likely to talk to your friends and family. Even the people living with you, you're less likely to talk to them. I would think it would be like the Osbournes, where like you run into them a lot because you're all in the same mansion, but it's not the case. It's people isolate themselves more. They stay away from each other more. They are less likely to talk to friends or neighbors. They're less likely to go out. Like, why go to a dinner party if you're living in a mansion and everything you could ever want is right there? We'll end there with my vitriolic nonsense melting down.
No, that was good. I don't know what else to say.